watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Hi, welcome back to the It's Her Time podcast. My name is Cody Sanders, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and functional nutritionist and the host of this show. Today, we're going to be talking about how to nourish our nervous system. I'm so excited because I have my absolute best friend, which I think is the most important thing about her, but I also have a world-renowned yoga therapist. I want to introduce you to Elise Jones.
Hello.
But before we go into our fun episode, I've invited Elise to join us in our Mixhers Girls Say, because I think this will be really fun. Let's talk a little bit about what some of the girls over at Mixhers have been asking and sharing with us. So this past week, or a couple weeks ago, I think is what it was, we asked you, tell us about a weird reoccurring dream that you've had. So think about that for a second. Can you think of anything? I'm going to read some of your answers because I think they're great. They're always great. Okay. I feel like we can all relate to this one. This girl says, I'm always late for class and can never remember my locker combination. 66% of you said, I've had this dream too. And 34% of you said, what does it mean? How do we interpret this? So have you had that dream before?
Not that specific one.
Yeah.
But I've had a recurring dream.
Okay, are you ready to share it?
Well, are you finished sharing
more,
those?
but
let's go. No,
let's go.
I'll be at the end.
Okay,
these are good.
She'll bring it all together. Okay, so this one sounds maybe like a nightmare. So she says that she has a recurring dream about being pregnant, and it will pick up where it left off the next night. So she just keeps having this dream every night. So we had the question, is it a sign? And 65% of you said it's a sign. And then 35% of you said that you've had that dream too. Luckily, I've not had that dream.
Every day it starts over.
Every day you're like, I'm pregnant again. I don't know. It's been long enough since we've had kids.
A nightmare.
I think it's a nightmare. I mean, we love what the pregnancy brings, but
pregnant forever.
Pregnant forever.
Groundhog Day pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, pregnancy for most women now can be a little better and improved thanks to our Mixhers prenatal. Okay. So this other dream was always about to graduate school, but last minute realized that they're failing a class. Sorry. So 13% of you said this happened to me in real life. I'm sorry. That sucks. That's not good. It's
Dreams come true.
Apparently. And then 87% of you said that is a true nightmare. Yeah, that is a nightmare. That's disappointing. Okay, let's do a couple more. You good?
Okay,
You got yours in mind. I can't wait to hear it. Okay. Oh, this person says, I keep dreaming about my ex. Does it mean something? 6% of you said text him. I don't know if I agree with that.
Wow.
94% of you, I'm with the 94%, said don't text him. What would you say?
I don't.
Don't text him. Maybe he's your ex.
Okay, think of the other side. How creepy. Hey, I've been dreaming about you for years.
Yeah, I keep dreaming about you every night.
Some things, just let it ride.
Yeah, that's our advice. I agree. Okay, couple more, maybe one more. We'll see. Okay, her reoccurring dream is that her mother-in-law and father-in-law got back together after being divorced for a year and a half. So 48, this is pretty split evenly. 48% of you said, time to pull a parent trap. We all love that movie.
Yeah. I'm just doing that face because that would be a dream.
Yeah. Every kid's dream.
To be in Parent Trap, to reenact that and do the finagling.
Yeah. And it would maybe motivate you because it's probably feels like a happy dream. 52% of you though said it doesn't mean anything. So I'm sure. I mean, dreams, do you think that dreams are predictors?
Or manifesting what you want to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. I think sometimes you can learn a lot about your dreams. Some of them make no sense. My daughter's actually somebody that knows a lot. She's read a lot of books. It's not like this is something that's her expertise or anything, but she's just read a lot of books. She's been interested in interpreting dreams. And so we'll have to ask her if any of these things mean anything. It is pretty fascinating. Okay. I'm just going to share this because it's too good. This person says, I'm dreaming of the next Mixhers launch. 54% of you said me too. And 46% of you said we're keeping our eyes on things. So we're excited. This is a fun year, 2024. We've just launched our rebrand and we're starting to roll out each of our rebranded products, but we've got some things in the works. As always, we're always trying to be that place that can help supply you with all of the ways that support your health. And so, okay, but before we go into the episode, we're not gonna go a single second longer without hearing about your recurring dream. I can't wait.
Well, now there's pressure.
Oh.
But however, ever since I was a kid, this dream that I've had is someone's chasing me, but the only way I can get away is I run real fast and I jump real hard and then I'm flying. But sometimes I won't make it.
Oh.
So I'll fall and land and this person's getting closer and I never know who the person is, but I just have to jump and then I can fly and then I'm fine.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like the best.
But it feels awesome flying, right? Mm-hmm. I know that feeling in my dream, but I'm like, why am I always... you can interpret that a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
What am I running from? Who's chasing me? Why the jump?
Feel free to lay down on that chair. We'll try to figure it out.
That is a recurring my whole life of okay, I got to run real fast and then I can fly.
Oh, okay. See, but when I'm trying to run away from something in my dreams, I can't run. It's that heavy weight. Yeah. I'm trying to run, but it's really labored and it's just so frustrating.
Let's interpret each other's run dreams.
I know. What do you think that means?
I don't know. Because I would think you feel stuck and I would think maybe I feel scared. I don't know.
It's interesting. Well, actually, that kind of is a good little segue because we're going to be talking about the nervous system.
Yes, we are.
And maybe that shows us a little bit about maybe we're stuck. When we're dreaming, I think sometimes it can kind of give us some hints on how nourished our nervous system actually is.
Mixhers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixhers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixhers.com, Mixhers.
Let's do a quick review because I know we talk about the nervous system because it plays a major role in our health. And especially I know this podcast is geared towards helping you to understand how to support your hormonal health. Well, if your nervous system is dysregulated, you're not going to ever have balanced hormones because what's happening, the messages that are coming from your nervous system, it's your hormones that are the messengers that are taking that message and taking it throughout the body. And so if there's some dysregulation happening there, then those hormone messengers aren't going to really know what to do. It's not going to always be a healthy communication pathways. So let's talk a little bit about what is the nervous system. I mean, I know we could go into it really geeky, but let's just do the gist of it.
So the autonomic nervous system is two parts. We have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And sympathetic nervous system is basically our fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. It's how our body protects itself.
Or freeze.
Which
is what she was referring to.
The freeze,
about my dream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the parasympathetic is more of the release and relax, what calms us. They balance each other. So when there's dysregulation in the specifically autonomic nervous system, there's something going on in our lives that has caused that dysregulation that usually stems from, it could be medications you take. It could be your lifestyle, your sleep patterns. It could be a chronic illness. It could be trauma in your life. Anything like that could disrupt. And so what we need to do and what Cody and I geek out on is simple ways that we can help balance those things to bring balance back to the imbalance, with obviously with lifestyle changes, certain techniques we could do, supplements you can take, all those sorts of things that can bring you back to balance.
Yeah, because it's about, we're not ever going to be able to remove all of the stresses in our life, right, but it's about helping to support our body, our mind to be adaptable. And so that's the thing. I always think of being resilient. Resilience, the word that we want to strive for when we're thinking about our nervous system. And that basically sums that up. So the opposite of resiliency would be feeling stuck, right? And so a lot of times when we're talking about nervous system dysregulation, that's what we're meaning. We can get stuck in that sympathetic nervous system that Elise was just talking about, that fight, flight, freeze, state, because our body is being bombarded with consistent stressors, like chronic stressors all the time. And so what I love about what Elise does, and I've had her on our show before, and I'm going to put in the show notes how you can go back and listen to some of the other episodes that she shared with us, because we've talked about cortisol dysregulation before and other things that help, to help get us help us be able to handle stress better, so we can negate the negative effects of stress, like on our bodies and our psyches. And so, but what we love to talk about is like, how do we utilize some of these lifestyle changes, nutritional changes? How do we actually nourish? And I know that's a weird term to say, but like nourish our nervous system so that it can be adaptable.
Well, I think that sometimes we don't notice until something happens in our lives where we need to make some changes. So that sounds pretty obvious, but
it's true, though.
Don't you think that, when you look back at things and say, wow, if I would have been doing this for so many years, if I would have known this, if I would have been doing this, I'd be in a better state.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really notice until something happens, and we have to choose to fix it. And everything's a choice. So if someone, decisions that people make outside of our control that affect us, it's not always something that we're doing. It's not always, I can sleep better. It's not always things that you can do when you can't control the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you can control is how you react to that and the steps you can take to make sure that you can keep yourself regulated with what you're eating, what you're drinking, and the steps to take to feel better. And so me personally, the breath work and movement has helped a great deal, because I've learned to cater yoga therapy specifically to my personal body, to my personal situation over the years. It used to be exercise. It used to be, I do it for this or just repetition, where now it's, this specific movement isn't going to serve me today because of how I'm feeling. Or this type of breath work is actually, going to help me feel regulated where this one would not.
Right.
And so learning all those techniques and things is what I love to share, because I have to utilize it myself.
Right. I do want to, I want to get into, I know we've talked about your personal story, like probably on our other podcast episodes that we've done here. But for those that haven't tuned into these previous episodes, the reason I want to have Elise share her personal story is not only does she have the education to help guide us to know how to regulate our nervous system, but she also, like she just described, she's using these same tools in her life daily. I think it's important, something to kind of put out there, because all of us, every second of our day, our nervous system is constantly monitoring for stress and for threats. And whether we're just sitting here having a conversation, we're driving in our car, we're at home with our family, whatever it is that you're doing, right this very second, your nervous system is on high alert. And you might not always feel that all the time. So what Elise was just kind of talking about is that sometimes we don't always recognize like whether we're being negatively affected or not. And we need to become more mindful of how to really be aware of our body, be mindful of how our body is responding in certain circumstances. And the better we can be at recognizing that, the quicker we can go about utilizing some of the tools that Elise is going to share to put them into place, whether it's with breathing or with movement, et cetera, so that we can help regulate our nervous system and send our brain the safety signals that help us to handle and be more adaptable when we are faced with this stressful situation. So I just wanted to lay that little groundwork here. But Elise, tell us a little bit about kind of you and what is going on in your own personal life and how you utilize these tools.
Okay. Well, before I share that, something that just came to my head when you were saying that was our brains naturally hold on to negativity a lot easier than positivity. We actually have to counter what is fed into our brain, what we hold on to. And so a lot of these techniques that I've been using, that I've been sharing with other people, that I've had to utilize myself in different ways, has really helped combat that, because it's really easy to stay down.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole goal is, you can have your bad day, but not a bad week. Like you just don't stay down. It's a choice to regulate that, because of how our brains retain.
Yeah, we're programmed. That's our programming.
It's
is
just,
to go down the worst case scenario road, right? Yeah.
It's unfortunately just a natural negative Nelly.
Yeah. Yep.
To be a positive Polly.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I had open heart surgery in 2017. And that was to go back farther. In 2009, I had an intravenous device put in. I had atrial septal defect, so my heart was separated my septum was separated in two pieces. So I had a device put in that helped regulate the blood flow more correctly. And years later, in 2017, I had open heart surgery to have that device removed. And they rebuilt my chamber walls, my septum wall. And then it was bomber. We went and backpacked to about 3 weeks to over 120 miles to Everest Base Camp and back. And my heart was bomber. It was like doing all the things I want to do.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, I was life flighted and diagnosed with stage D heart failure, which is a permanent condition and that I'm living now.
Yes.
And so medications and supplements and I'm not just like plugging the supplements. It's like,
we appreciate it, but
it's honestly like, there's a lot of things that have really helped me. And my doctors are very, very, with a heart failure team, and they're very open to utilizing holistic care as long as they know what I'm doing. Because I don't know what's going to possibly counter anything. But so I do as much natural stuff as I can. And my heart's at a point now where I'm stable at about 48% function, which is great, actually. But I have to, you can imagine the mental toll that can take and all the why me that can happen that I actually don't ever remember. I mean, I've wallowed for sure, but never like the why me. It's more like, this can't be happening. How can I make a change? Like how can I do what I love to do, but make it look different? So that's what I've tried to focus on is the positivity, and utilizing breathing techniques specifically after my open heart surgery really saved me, not from depression, but staying in depression. So things are going to happen, but I knew I kind of became my own client. I knew how to combat that with breathing patterns, pranayama, which is controlled breathing, and gentle movement I could do as time went on from the healing that I utilized in a totally different way. And then as time went on and my health became worse and I had part of my lung removed last year, my heart really struggled with that. Now, I in the heart world, now the lung world. And a lot of what I try to do is help pre and post heart and lung surgery patients learn how to breathe and learn how to utilize their lungs in different ways to keep their positivity. It really does make a difference in your brain. It really does make a difference in your body, how you breathe. And I've said all the time, I've said this to you 50,000 times. We talk about this all the time, that your body tells your brain tells your body what to do, but your breath tells your brain what to do first. So by implementing certain breathing techniques, not only does it keep you from staying in depression, it helps you to sleep better. It helps regulate your systems. It helps regulate your heart rate. It helps regulate your blood pressure, all the things with our nervous system that can be helped and regulated from a negative state to a positive state. And not only that, but helping keep your lungs open, specifically post-surgery, to keep your lungs healthy from getting sick, but not having to move the certain areas that were surgically attended to. So it's just been, so I've kind of it's been the best blessing in my life, honestly, to really focus on helping other people as I help myself, as I'm learning myself. And just feeling like this isn't a burden to me. It's actually been a way that I can help uplift myself and uplift other people and be more aware of even relationships and taking care of my body, how I eat, what I put into my body, sleep, everything that is helping balancing to nourish our nervous system, I've been forced to have to do. And it sounds funny to complain about, well, I've had to eat really healthy. I've had to do all the, and it's just, this is the greatest ever. And it took something massive to kind of guide me in a more healthy, direct path that has literally been my lifesaver that is hopefully helping other people. So I'm using all these things because I have to. And now it's like, I don't know why we're not just doing this anyway. You don't just have to be ill.
It's because I think that
we just don't think about it.
We are better at taking care of others than we are about taking care of ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
And so a lot of the things that we know, these are free techniques.
Right.
This is not something that costs money to learn how to breathe, properly and to do these things. They're all safety signals, like I mentioned before, that help to give our body or our nervous system that sense of safety. And so there are things that we can utilize. But when you're seeing that these practices, these simple practices of movement, breathing, and just mindset work as well, that it is so impactful, positively impactful for these other patients that you're working with. You're just such an awesome health advocate for them. But you then see it like, it like reaffirms it. It's like the proof right there that, this works. I should actually implement it for myself, Yeah.
And simple things that do help nourish your nervous system that you wouldn't think about, that maybe seem uncomfortable, is honestly in the morning before you get ready, before you do anything, when you're not at your best, physically, but do we really care? But sometimes we get stuck on that.
Yeah.
But you look in the mirror and just smile at yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smile just for a few seconds. Even look at the reflection and say, I'm awesome. I've got this. I can do this today. Like anything you can do to start sparking that positive reaction it really does start a chemical reaction in your body, that if you start every day with this positivity. And it's not be happy all the time. That's impossible. I'm definitely not. You have to have a dark day. You have to have the sad and the anger and feel it to heal it in order to,
I love that,
to really feel better. But you have to make a choice to want to feel better.
Yes.
And even if you're not going through an illness, even if you're not going through some severe trauma right now, which everyone has their hard, get used to making good habits. Simply taking yourself out on a date or smiling at yourself. Thinking twice before you put something in your body that could be harmful. Thinking twice before you say something negative. Thinking twice for all these things that are all positive reactions to us physically. Going to bed at a good time, waking at a good time, all of these things that seem mundane, but that's what's creating balance and nourishment in our nervous system.
No, it's so
are the
true.
Things that we take advantage of that we don't really realize until something happens. And it's like, now I'm forced.
Yeah,
to be healthy.
When we think of the word nourishment, like we think of food, right?
Yeah.
But it is a smile at yourself in the morning. And I know that sounds like so simplistic. There was a funny Saturday Night Live skit that used to be on there, and Jack Handy, right? And he'd look at himself.
He's
in
my
the
favorite,
mirror, and I loved him. I know,
favorite,
so great. But there's power in that, because we've talked about this in some other episodes. But if you see yourself first thing in the morning, like that connection where you start having that inner dialogue is then, remember, our body is always on the lookout for any threat. So if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I look like death, I look terrible, and you have all of these negative things.
This
that you
looks
start
bad
saying,
on me.
Yeah, you're sending the signal that you need to be fixed. And so whether you have chronic illness, like Elise does, or whether you're just somebody trying to get through your day, feeling your best, and you've just, trying to, be your healthiest self, that smile, those positive thoughts are actually incredible nourishment. They're medicine, especially for our nervous system. And if we want to heal, we have to make sure our body, our nervous system senses safety.
Yeah.
We cannot heal if we are in a sympathetic nervous state. And so it's so important. So I hope I'm just driving that home enough. But I love that you recognize that, and that you talked about that. You've got to feel it. Yeah. Not like just putting on a fake smile.
No, it's not about, I'm just happy all the time. No, you're not. No one is. It is a choice. It really is a choice. But you have to allow yourself to feel the negativity in a healthy way and purge it in a healthy way and learn those tools. And like you were saying before, these things aren't automatic, and it's so dumb. If I have a goal in life to leave behind, it would be to learn how to self-soothe and just all these things that should just be known. We learn how to tie our shoes. We learn math. We learn how to the alphabet, these basic skills, but we don't learn how to eat. We don't learn how to breathe. We don't learn how to self-soothe. It's all these things we're learning as adults. that
we were
kids now are
relearning.
learning in schools
Yeah.
and learning all these things. I think, man, if I would have learned how to calm down when I felt bullied or I felt uncomfortable or nervous for a test or whatever it is, if I learned these skills to settle my nervous system, to calm my body down as a kid, can you imagine how much farther ahead we would be? And so it's really important that the things that we think are simple or mundane really are important. And when you're smiling yourself in the mirror or you're saying, think of your emotional vocabulary. If you are positive about how you feel, how you look, saying good things to you, it will manifest and you will make better choices.
So true.
You will not be eating the garbage or I mean, we all have a day, right?
For sure. We've been there. We've had those days together.
We are there.
Yeah.
However, you will make better choices for your life and for your health if you feel good and positive emotionally, mentally, and physically about yourself.
Yeah.
You talk to yourself like you would a best friend. I would never look at you and say, you know what? You need to change this.
Yeah.
I think you would look better or, you know, whatever. Be happier if you would change this.
Yeah.
You would never say that to a best friend. But why do we say that to ourselves?
Yeah.
And I think we spend a lot of time saying, I'll feel better when, I'll feel happier if, rather than right now in the moment, appreciating the fact that our bodies can move, that we have the flexion and the strength that we have the capabilities that we have the personalities that we have, instead of constantly focusing on the change. Because 10 years from now, you could look back and really regret not taking advantage of the health you had. And not taking advantage of the body, the shape, the energy, whatever that you had, because you never know what can happen in life when we've been wishing away all these years, every day, wishing we looked different. Wishing we were acted different or too much for some people or not enough for other people. Enjoy and love yourself today, and you will make good choices that will help your nervous system, period.
All right, there we could just drop the mic. And I know you feel that. I know we've had that discussion because nothing puts life and what's actually important into better perspective than when you are suffering with a life-threatening illness or something like that. So I wanted to go back a little bit just because I do think this is interesting and I had some thoughts on it as well. But you talked about that self-nurturing. We actually are born with these self-nurturing mechanisms that are natural part. If you think of a baby, when I first went to school, I studied early childhood development, and we talked about the importance of teaching children, babies, to help to self-nurture so they weren't always dependent on their parent to nurture them, although obviously they are dependent in many ways, but teaching them how to do this self-nurturing. But then it's so interesting because then our culture actually tries to help us unlearn those self-nurturing little techniques that we've learned. So like the sucking and, the mirroring and all of these techniques that help to calm our nervous system, it becomes almost shamed out of us. And so it's interesting that you're saying that now, in school, things that people are starting to learn how to self-nurture again. It's just interesting because I think sometimes we just get into our own way, but I'm glad that we're coming back to that because there are ways that we can do this. And when we had an episode a couple of months back, we had a somatic healing expert that was on here. And a lot of times when you go into somatic healing, it is taking us back to that primitive place and where we were as we learned through our senses as babies. And so whether that has to do with any of our five senses or just even going through the mechanics of movement, like crawling, these are things that they're using. They're going back to that state to help us to move out of this high fight or flight sense of, our nervous system in our sympathetic nervous state. And so it's interesting because I think that takes us back to a time when we were self-soothing, and maybe during that phase of life when if we experienced some kind of trauma or we perceived some kind of trauma or stress, it gets stored in our body. And sometimes the only way we can release that is through movement. So I wanted to kind of segue into this a little bit because when I was coaching, one-on-one people, I had pillars, and I'm sure you're similar with your clients. But my pillars were, one of them, the first one was move your body. That was the first thing that I would teach people. I taught people through movement, through stretching, through fascial release, all of these kinds of things, because the nervous system plays a huge part in like even our desire to lose weight or to build muscle, or, it's like any function that our body has. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about moving our body.
Yes.
So what are some of the ways that you do for yourself or you teach other people, like what kind of movements can be super healing for us?
So this is I love talking about this because I think that what can actually cause imbalance in our nervous system is overwhelm and feeling incapable and just all these things where we think we have to do these grandiose things or do a certain class or join a certain club or whatever, that it's up here.
Yeah.
When really, if you go for a walk, put in some good music. If you don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't have to do anything grand, make huge leaps from nothing to all of a sudden 7 classes a day.
Yeah.
Or, it doesn't have to be huge. Go on a walk. Even if you're sitting in a chair, roll your shoulders, lift your arms up with your breath. I mean, anything you can do, even if it's just a few minutes a day, don't overwhelm yourself by thinking, okay, well, now I'm going to start and I'm going to do an hour every day because what's going to happen is, that's great.
It's fine.
That is great. But it's also such a leap to a grand change that it may not be sustainable.
Well, and it can actually even signal danger.
Yeah.
Because it's mimicking
too much too soon.
You trying to eat. It's the same energy system that helps us to get out of danger is what you're activating when you're maybe doing your hour HIIT workout or something. And not that that's bad. What she's saying is good. But if it's like this consistent thing and you're like, that's how I move my body. Yeah. We are encouraging you to move it differently.
I've been teaching fitness classes, every Les Mills class, every spin for 10 years, and to water aerobics, to everything. I was teaching fitness classes of all kinds, along with different genres of yoga, and doing a training every year for 15 years. So there.
Yeah.
And so with that kind of person, and you and I are the same in this because you were doing the exact same thing.
Yes, I was.
And then you get to a point in your life, with me specifically, a wall hit and something physical came up and it was immediate stop. And it was very hard for me to be the person that went from, well, I'm doing this for my exercise. I do yoga for my exercise. Then I do my spin, and then I'm teaching 4 classes a day, and I do this and this, to nothing. And having to go, the only thing I could do was like restorative stuff. And I was like, no.
Like, this won't even count.
I'm not doing the grandma class.
The grandma
And
class.
then I did that, and it became my power. It became my power yoga. I thought, wow, I actually had to be forced to slow down to recognize what I was missing and the need for that balance. So just like the 2 parts of our autonomic nervous system, there are 2 parts. There's this, it's good to strengthen. You need to strengthen your muscles and bones. You need to strengthen your body. You need to sweat. You need to the compression and all the stretch and everything. But you also need to balance that with rest and release. And that includes like physical rest, sleep, and deep breathing. And so coming back to the main question is, going, what could be good for you? Swimming, walking, seriously, going for a walk, something as simple. You don't have to do 4 classes a day to feel like you're accomplishing something. And that was the biggest mind shift for me, to say, wow, I can still do what I love to do. It just looks different. Yeah. I can ride a bike. I just don't go uphill. I just don't, I can't push it. I can't get my heart rate to a certain point. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of can'ts, but I have found so much more cans than the can'ts. I'm not going to let something stop me, and that overwhelm broke to where, feeling accomplished became minimal things instead of the maximum things. And so don't beat yourself up if you're not, joining the ladies in the neighborhood that are going to certain classes every day, or feeling like you need to afford something. It's just
an expensive piece of equipment or something.
Get out and start. Just go on a walk every day.
Yeah.
Get some roller skates.
Oh, we love roller skating.
Yes. Just find something you love to do, and then it's not exercise. Then it's a real joy. Pickleball's really big. Yeah. Anything. Find something that becomes a hobby, and then it's not, I need to fit in my hour or my 20 minutes for exercise. It's, I love to do this and I'm doing it anyway. And that it will change. And just like you said, things from early childhood are stored in our bodies that can manifest. 25, 30 years is usually the magic number.
Yeah.
it usually manifests later in life. And now we have something to deal with, that we have to utilize all these practices where, if we just don't wait for something huge to happen and start making positive little changes, the smile in the mirror, go on a walk to your friend's house rather than drive, or whatever it is, just little changes that can actually minimize the negative effects of something big later in life.
Yeah.
So
we've been designed to move. Yeah. We have all the equipment, right?
Yeah.
Our body,
we love it.
We
love
gravity.
Movement.
We love movement.
We love all the things. But it just doesn't have to be huge.
Yeah. So, I've gone from doing Ironman triathlons and now trying to get my 10,000 steps every day. But
totally.
The point is just moving your body the way that it's designed to move. And by doing so, I feel like I've been in yoga classes or even, just walking where I will feel emotion, kind of come out just through the movement. So I just think we need to make that a pillar of one of the pillars that we use to nourish our nervous system is to be mindful of moving consistently. Think about flow. You just want to always have a good flow of energy, that rest, that movement, it all just needs to be balanced. It doesn't need to be all one thing and then nothing. You sit on your butt the rest of the day after you had your hour-long HIIT workout, just keep moving throughout the day. Okay. sorry, did you have a thought you want to share?
I was going to say to get a little specific.
Yeah.
Physically, you just mentioned releasing emotionally. There are some physical stretches, specifically in the heavy part of your hips. Have you ever been in a pigeon pose or a hip stretch and just started crying and not knowing why?
Yes.
So
describe a pigeon pose for those that aren't.
So pigeon is picture being on hands and knees, and you bring one knee in front with your leg across the other side and then extend your back
you're
leg.
Pointing forward with your knee. So
or you can lay on your back and cross your legs too. It's just to open and get some stretch in the hips.
Feels so good. Hurts so good too sometimes.
And it's really good. And if it's difficult, use tools. Use a stack of books at home, or if you don't have yoga blocks or something, to support yourself in the pose so you can rest in that tension. While your brain is registering the tension, your breath, deep breathing, is actually telling your brain you're okay. So you are practicing balancing and calming your central nervous system specifically by calming through something frustrating. So that's a really good practice anyway. But that physical position or deep stretches in the hips, if you need to release emotion, it's a really good place to do it, to get into just any deep hip stretch and sit there for a few minutes, get some deep breathing, and hips store a lot of emotion physically.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Why do we store so much emotion in our hips?
It's just that the largest, heaviest region in our body, and a lot of emotion can just be stored there. And even sometimes in your shoulders, these heavier joints. And even you may not notice, but when you're in a deep stretch and you release even your eyelids, or just muscles in your face. Release your hands, release your feet. It's not always focusing on the big major muscle groups that we're focusing on in the deep stretch or the movement to strengthen. It's all the little things that you could be holding tension or clenching your jaw without even noticing it.
I do that all the time.
So while you're holding a deep stretch, or maybe doing squats or some movement, whatever it is, even on your walk, relax your face, relax your hands. Notice where else you're possibly holding tension that you could release. And that can help emotional balance as well. And then there's a specific breathing pattern. It's called Nadi Shodhana, that is actually alternate nostril breathing that helps with the opposing hemispheres of the brain. So that's a really good balancing breath practice to do to help feel balanced, and not just feel balanced, but to bring balance.
Right.
Is you're stimulating different hemispheres of the brain. So there are breathing techniques you can do. As well as physical movement that helps your mind and your brain, which are two different things, and to release emotionally and physically.
Yes. We talked about how the mind and the brain are different things in the podcast episode that we did with Dr. Caroline Leaf. So I love that. It's so important. But you're basically implementing a lot of the things we're talking together all at once. So, you're using the movement, but you're also incorporating the breath, and you're trying to just relax and use your breath as you're moving, even if it's just a walk down your street, just using that breath. So that leads me to another pillar that I would love to get into. We don't probably need to go into it too much because I feel like we've kind of covered a little bit, but one of the other pillars is to tend your mind. And so one of the best ways that you can tend your mind is nourish your mind through breath.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you to explain to us how there is a difference between like breath work.
Yes.
Will you go into that?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I'll let you put it in your expertise.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically in yoga therapy, breath work is a very specific practice that is gaining popularity right now. And it can be specific to the person. So yes, you can do it as a group or as a class by someone trained to guide you through it. So why I say someone trained is because breath work is deep enough. It's a deep enough process that can actually stimulate emotions and even feelings of psychosis.
Well, you just talked about just breathing through different nostrils.
Right. That can stimulate
changes
that.
the brain function.
But like the deep breathing and breath work and the practices you do physically along with that bring up a lot. It brings up a lot. So it's really important to distinguish the difference between breath work and breathing or pranayama, which is controlled breath. So breath work, they're both, I mean, obviously both wonderful.
Yeah,
I love breath work practices. I love it. It's just that's something I would be very careful of, not just going to someone's backyard and saying, oh, we're doing breath work, unless you actually know what you're doing or the person knows what they're doing or clear. Like I actually don't do breath work with people unless they have filled out like a medical history.
Like you need to know where they're at.
Yes. And there are certain breathing practices that I know not to do if someone has been through like severe PTSD. Okay. That means that like if they can't do certain movements and I assess them, that like physical movements that are difficult to do with PTSD, that tells me not to do a specific type of breath work or breathing pattern. So it's really important to know the background. But
can I just make
and that can be controversial, but it's really important.
I'm so glad that you brought it up because I feel like it is becoming something that's very popular. There's a lot of these classes that are, big groups,
They're
60
great.
plus people.
Sure.
Well, it sounds to me like maybe it's not the best thing. I mean,
if it's done appropriately.
Yeah, if people are like understanding the power of it and they're experiencing the power of it. But what I want our audience to understand, because I think this is something that's very important, that there is a lot of power that can come from breath work. And so if you are somebody that is needing to release maybe some stored trauma, you've been through, some traumatic events, or you are trying to release stored emotion or whatever it is, working with somebody that actually knows you, personally and knows your history can be more effective. And we don't take the risk of it causing actually more trauma because I know when we've had conversations before that is a risk. And when you're in a group setting, it's not like if people are just breathing, but I've been in these things before. I've been invited and I'm familiar enough
I perform it.
with breath work that I am often surprised at some of the patterns that they're guiding a large group through without knowing every person. Like when I went to when I wasn't asked anything about my health history, they didn't know anything about this. And so anyways, I am cautious about it as well. I just feel like it's something we need to talk about more. It's not that they need
to know you, but your history, sure. Yeah. And it should be taken seriously. I've had people actually reach out to me through my Instagram that have said, what's your opinion on this? Because I just went to this breath work, and there were two ladies that went into convulsions and they couldn't get out of it. And, they didn't know what to do. And so it can really, it's supposed to stimulate your brain. It's supposed to stimulate your emotions. It's supposed to release. That's what it's for. So it should be taken very seriously. Now, the difference between breath work, which is, that word is really used a little too broadly because breath work is very different.
They think inhaling from breathing, deeply, exhaling. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes. And so pranayama is the yogic term for controlled breathing. Prana is life force and basically your breath. Pranayama is controlled breathing. So that's something that you can do that I do in public classes that I do all the time. I do it on my Instagram. I offer that weekly for anyone who wants just 15 minutes of something to practice, just to join me. Yeah. And anyway, so that is all these different breathing patterns that you can do to learn to self-soothe. That's why I put it out there, is it should be something that we're learning with tying our shoes, with learning how to eat properly, with balancing our systems, with all the things that we have now to regulate ourselves in so many different ways. We should be learning how to breathe. And we're so used to taking a substance or like, when I say substance, I'm meaning I'm not anti anything, okay? Everyone's different. But you can take chocolate to make yourself feel better. You could take something to soothe or get into addiction or things like that, where people don't recognize the power of your breath that can stimulate and actually take the place of, like when I worked at a drug rehab center and sexual abuse centers and the Veterans Hospital, did rotations there. You can see the good that pranayama and breathwork for specific individuals can do to minimize the use of narcotics, to minimize the use of a tangible substance because you're stimulating yourself with your breath. So pranayama or controlled breathing, something that you would do in a public class, is very important. And I liken it unto a food or even a medicine. I call it, take your meditation. So there are so many different types of breathing patterns that it's important to practice different kinds. So you really notice what your meditation is. You have to, if you're on a medication or different foods, you really need to learn what your body responds to. People are allergic to gluten. People are allergic to dairy. People are allergic to certain medications, whatever it is. And so you choose something else that your body responds positively to. Same thing with breathing patterns. They're all good for you, but what can help me feel rested can actually create feelings of anxiety in you. Same breath pattern.
Right.
Same strawberry, but two different reactions, right? Depending on what that is. So it's very important to learn different techniques to know what your meditation go-to is. And then if you need something deeper, I love that in today's day and age, we understand the importance of talking about things and therapy and counseling and using things like breath work or different ways to learn how to care for ourselves. Where when we were kids, I dare say, this is a general statement, but I dare say we didn't talk about it. If something happened to us or trauma or something, counseling or therapy was kind of taboo or it just wasn't talked about. It was ignore it and it'll go away. And now we are talking about it. We are saying, no, kids, what are you feeling right now? Almost to the point where the pendulum has swung to the other side where it's almost like over emotional, like it's like too much. But we are so open to learning different techniques and working with both, a holistic and medicine and learning what works for you and what doesn't. We have choices that we're utilizing and putting ourselves out there and saying, this works for me, this doesn't, and that's okay. There's not a one size fits all for anything. But coming back to specifically breathing, that people might think, well, that doesn't do anything. It's not a substance. It's not physical. It's not a tangible thing that's actually going to do anything. That's where we're wrong. There's actual scientific evidence that changing the way you breathe and utilizing your breath changes the chemistry in your brain. It changes your body. It balances your system.
It changes the state of your mind, which is what these medications or things that we often can form addictions to are doing. And so
get addicted to breathing.
Get addicted to this kind of medication.
Meditation.
I love it.
Take your meditation.
Yeah. So I feel like you just talked about that. I mean, tending to our mind, using breath work is so important. All of these things, helping ourselves to be able to self-nurture, using these techniques are just the most powerful things that we have, for us that are just free. And truly, if we can learn, I would recommend, because I wish we had an ability to have Elise take us through a class, but luckily she is, puts generously, a lot of great content out there on her social media, on YouTube. She also is on an app where you can take yoga classes with her. She teaches live classes if you live here locally in Utah as well. And we'll put all the ways that you can connect with Elise in our show notes. But I know we're running out of time. It's just so fun to talk to you. Honestly, when I hang out with Elise, I'm like, I could just talk to her nonstop. And we've taken road trips together and we're just like, blah, 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 the whole time because we have a lot in common.
Long day.
We're interested in all of the things, together. It's so great. But I just want to talk briefly and share what these pillars of health are when it comes to nourishing our nervous system. So we've talked about moving our body. We've talked about tending our mind. One of the other pillars is to feed your body. Now, you guys know this is a huge one for me. This is where I come in as an expert with nutritional therapy. The foods that we're sending or putting into our bodies, the nutrients that we're putting into our bodies also have a major impact on our nervous system. They help with our mitochondrial function. They help with the ability for our body to utilize the messaging system, in our body, which is what our hormone health is. But also the other pillars I have is feeding your spirit, tending to your spark, human connection, rest, and sleep. So I just want, as we're closing up, just quick thoughts on how do you feed your spirit, Elise?
Oh my goodness. The way I feed my spirit is not just religiously, but really getting to the point in my life where even with all the hardship and all the things that everyone goes through, but we're talking just, my own personal thing.
We know what you're going through. Yeah.
That I like myself, and liking who I am and helps me to make better choices. And spiritually, I personally, just the power of prayer and the power of that connection with my higher power, which is God. And the connection I have there that I always have had. But again, it took a traumatic experience to really feel this connection with him because I've asked for it.
Yeah.
And because I've heard, I've felt things, I've just, it's helped me not care so much about the little mundane things in life that we worry about. In fact, again, I've kind of said this before, but I'm happier now than I've ever been.
Which
and
you wouldn't think
because
if people know what your circumstance is, right? They say, how is that possible?
I think it's because I have released worry. I've like spiritually, I've gone farther and deeper into my spirituality by creating a deeper connection there, which is what meditation is. It's one of the definitions of meditation is connection with your divinity, whatever that means to you. And so I've heightened that. I have closed doors on relationships that don't love me back or that no longer feed me or whatever.
Nourish you.
Without feeling bad about it. It's okay. Not everyone needs to like you. It's okay. I don't need to like everyone. That's okay. But relationships like this, that I needed in my life that God put there, that's a spiritual thing for me. Is it like, and I, just to get personal, it's really as if God just said, Elise, here you go. Here's a best friend.
Oh my gosh, now we're going to cry.
Here you go. And it's just, and that fed me spiritually. It's feeding, like, choices, connections that you make. And one of the pillars that you said, relationships, all of those things. Choose who you feel good to be around. And your body will tell you this energy that's going on. When you feel good with certain people and you feel bad with certain people, it's okay to close those doors. And I think I've said this before on the last podcast. I'll say it again because I say it to myself every day, all the time. It's an unknown quote that says, when it comes to the value of relationships, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. And I know who my quarters are. Know who your quarters are. And then spiritually, whatever your higher power is, make a deeper connection with that, and you will feel a deeper sense of self.
I love that. Thank you. You made me cry. I feel like God definitely put you in my life as well. And I learn from you all the time, and you definitely feed my spirit. So just for me, feeding spirit is taking a big picture approach. And I think that's what Elise just explained so beautifully, truly. This is a pillar that I think is also amazing and people don't think about. It's tending to your spark. But I think that's also something that Elise is very good at. When I think of Elise and I describe Elise to other people. And so think about how you describe yourself or how other people would describe you too. But she's fun, she's creative, she's playful, she's intelligent, she's loving, she's loyal. These are the sparks that I see, the light that comes from Elise. If you follow her on her social media, you're welcome. You should go follow her because she brings just joy to your life every day. She loves to live life. And that's one of the things I love so much about you. You love to play. You roller skate every day. It's so fun. Hi, it's so fun. I got some roller skates. I want to be just like Elise. And you do fun things. You dress fun. You love color. You love all the things that bring me joy too. Not that that's all you can do to but we like these kinds of things. You love life. And so I would definitely say that you're such a great example of how to tend to your spark. So think about the things that you can do that help to tend to those unique qualities that you possess. Like that's so important to show up authentically in our life. We wouldn't think that that's connected to our nervous system health, but if we're not being honest and truthful about who we are and presenting ourselves to the world in that way, then again, we're constantly sending that signal to our nervous system that we need to be fixed, that we're not okay. So we're in a state of danger. That human connection is so important. That's why at Mixhers, we talk so much about how important it is to come together as a community, to find your people that will listen to you when you need to talk through things, but also will be with you when you're going through the ups and the downs of life. Getting rest and getting good sleep is so important. That's why we have a formula that helps to support us to get that really good rest every single night. We have melatonin in there, which is our sleep hormone. But I've talked about this maybe a little bit. Maybe I want to talk about it just a little bit more. We also have ingredients in there that are nourishing for our nervous system. So we have ashwagandha, we have chamomile. Both of these are incredible for our nervous system. So when we're thinking about how to nourish our nervous system, these are the pillars that I encourage you to implement and to look at and maybe rate in your life. Like, where could you spend a little more time, put a little more love and tenderness into these areas of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And you do such a great job. You're just plugging Cody. Not that anyone needs to plug Cody because she's Cody.
No.
But her expertise, and she has literally, before these even came about, she was doing this for herself and other people. Like, she knows her stuff. And it's amazing to see what has been created and how much more you're doing with this because you do care and you do understand, and it actually physically makes a difference, the products that you're creating.
Thank you.
It's not, to me, it's not like a business, it's a lifestyle. It absolutely is. And for those of you that may not know, she has been creating these things for years before co-creating a business out of it. So yeah,
thanks,
you go.
Elise.
And you're just amazing. You're amazing.
That's the bonus of bringing your best friend on the podcast, is she has such nice things to say. Well, I appreciate it. It's true. I am passionate about taking a holistic approach when it comes to health. That means taking a whole approach. So addressing all areas that nourish us and provide that health and support that our bodies need. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I love hanging out with my friend Elise. She is a wealth of knowledge. She has a lot of great things that she's put out there. Like I said, I will connect you to her in our show notes. But think about your own life. Think about the ways that you can take care of nourishing your nervous system. When you have a nourished nervous system, think of also the trickle effect that has and the impact it has on the world around you, the people that are closest to you, and then so forth. So we're all in this together. So until next week, I hope you all have a very happy and healthy and nourished week. Talk soon. Bye.